So welcome to this info webinar. I'm Georgina Couchard. I'm Innovation Manager at EIT Urban Mobility. For your information, this is the first of a series of webinars that we are going to have this week. So this first webinar is the general one about the call content. Then tomorrow we're going to have one on commercialization and financial sustainability aspects. And on Thursday on intellectual property and on more the practical aspects of submission of your proposals. This is the agenda that we have planned for today. We're going to do a bit of introduction, then deep dive into the strategic focus of this call, the call requirements, some more operational issues related to the proposal submission, evaluation, and selection. We're going to introduce to you our community and the partner benefits that come from that. And we're going to give you a bit of more instructions about the platform we're using, Mobility Innovators, and how you can get involved after the webinars in the weeks to come. And as I said, we will have time for Q&A. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can put it into our Q&A chat here in Zoom, and later we will answer them. With that, I give the floor to Adriana Diaz, who is the Innovation Director at EIT Urban Mobility, who will do the introduction and welcome to this webinar. Adriana?
Thank you very much, Georgina, and good morning to everybody. I am very happy to be here and to start this series of webinars where we're going to share more details about our strategic innovation call. So if we can go to the next slide. Some of you know us, but for those that are getting to know us just now, we are EIT Urban Mobility. So we are the largest innovation community for urban mobility in Europe. And our vision is that of a Europe where mobility is more livable and the urban spaces are more livable because of sustainable mobility. So to achieve that, we provide businesses, startups, universities, research centers, and the public sector access to markets, talent, funding, and knowledge. We work in partnership with over 250 organizations, but we collaborate with over 1,000 across 35 countries. In terms of what we do in innovation, our innovation program is very focused on accelerating the sustainable mobility transition in cities, which is the mission of our organization. How do we do this? We respond to pressing urban mobility challenge by bringing innovations to market, focusing on the later stages of solution development, and including piloted and market deployment preparation in the projects that we support. So we work with businesses that want to scale and commercialize innovative mobility solutions together with cities. And what have we done so far? It's been quite a journey, but we're very happy that we've been able to support 139 consortia-led projects, 98 pilots in shorter projects under the City Raptor and the SME market expansion calls, which means that we have worked with over 435 entities in our projects and have channeled over 67 million euros in EIT funding. And so now we move to the strategic innovation open call, and I will give you a little bit of an overview of the main features of this call, and Georgina will tell you more in detail about each of these aspects. But what it's important to keep in mind is that previously we will do usually an annual open call. Now we're moving to a multi-year framework with 5 cutoff dates and 5 domain areas. That means that we have a stronger focus that allows us to have greater impact, but we remain flexible by addressing specific topics for specific cutoff dates. This means that if there is a change in regulation, if cities are facing a new pressing challenge that we can support and address with them, then we have the possibility to introduce these specific topics in a future cutoff date. So we focus on more ambitious collaborative projects with higher impact and scalability potential. We do this also by prolonging a little bit the duration of the project, and the setup now with a maximum of 2 million euros of EIT funding for up to 24 months for implementation. We are aiming for a balanced portfolio of close-to-market solutions, but we also want to combine projects that are more early-stage innovations, but all of our projects should ensure that the solutions will be ready for market deployment by the end of the implementation of the project. And we maintain some key fundamentals, such as the KPI delivery, real-life piloting as part of the project implementation, and the contribution to EIT Urban Mobility financial sustainability. So these are the main aspects, and Georgina, as I said, will tell you more, and we welcome your questions should something be, not clear by the end of the webinar. So what are we looking ahead? We have 5 cutoff dates, as I mentioned. We will have this first cutoff date in 2025, and then we plan for 2 cutoff dates per year in 2026 and 2027. These are tentative times, but we expect to have one in February and in June each year. So after that, we go through the process of proposal submissions, evaluation, conditions clearance, and then we can start projects in July and January of each year. But focusing on the cutoff date where we're at now, we will close it on 23rd September 2025 at 5 p.m. The eligibility and admissibility check will take place in the days after. So by the end of September, we expect to have completed that step and move on to the external evaluation. The external evaluation usually takes 1 month. So we expect to have the invitations for those shortlisted proposals that will be invited to the panel hearings by the end of October. The panel hearings are going to be online, and the portfolio selection will follow them in between 10 and 18 November 2025, and we expect to communicate all results by the end of November. After that, we usually have a period where we clear conditions. So those projects that have been invited past the panel hearing and get a communication will also receive some feedback for fine-tuning certain aspects that we expect that they improve before kicking off implementation. So we will be busy with that in December, aiming to start with the projects on January 2026. So this is our timeline. We will repeat it again, and you can find all this information in the call manual and our website. And also you have asked if there is something that you want to ask or at a later point. I give the floor to Georgina, and thank you again for being here, for your interest in our program, and hope that that this is a very, very useful and aspirational and inspirational session. So thank you, Georgina. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Adriana, and for giving us this overall picture about the call and the innovation program. I will now deep dive a little bit about first the strategic focus of the call, and the type of proposals that we are looking for. So it's important, especially for attendees who have never worked with us or looked at our proposals, our calls before, is that even though we are part of Horizon Europe, our projects are slightly different to what Horizon Europe normally funds. We are looking for prone to real urban mobility challenges. That means they need to be very much aligned and validated by the users, and they need to be aligned with EU priorities. What is important for you to know is that it's a project that demonstrates strong market potential and the ability to scale across European cities. The projects need to be truly innovative. So any new products, services, solutions that we would like to put forward, they need to bring new distinctive aspects to the market. Compared to more research type of projects, our projects need to present a credible path to market. And very important, the solutions need to be ready for market deployment by the end of the project. So there is this KPI on marketed innovations, which means that by the end of the project, you need to be ready to be selling the product to the market. This call looks for projects that are collaborative by design, where the different partners work together and are essential to achieve impact at scale. And finally, the type of proposals we are looking are those that deliver European added value, therefore that they strengthen Europe's innovation capacity, competitiveness, and some examples of strong aspects that we will value in your proposals are the following. So the solutions put forward needs to be a must-have for either cities, public transport operators, public transport authorities, mobility innovators, industry players, and they need the strong involvement of these end users from the very beginning, where co-design is also a key aspect. Similar to this, the proposals need to be challenge-driven and user-centric. So you will have to demonstrate already at proposal stage a very good understanding of the real needs of the future end users. They need to be relevant across markets, cities, and industries in Europe. And as I said in the previous slide, they need to be innovative and differentiated. So as part of the application form, you will have to explain what is the competitive landscape and how your solutions pose competitive advantages and outperform existing solutions currently in the market. And also one very important aspect is that your proposals need to be impact-driven and measurable. So you should be able to deliver significant impact on the ground in relation to either pollution reduction, modal shift away from private cars, cost efficiencies for cities, for operators. But it's very important to, when you put together a proposal, that you think about the impact that will create short-term and longer term, and that you put in place measurable KPIs and objectives. So on the other side of the coin, what are the things that we would like to avoid? And that's why we put it very clearly, is solutions that are very generic, that are not tied to a real user or city need. Project concepts that are basically doing tech push and not demand pull. So again, it's very similar to the first one, where there's nobody who really is asking for that solution and only the technology push. Projects that look at outdated challenges or that are very, very well addressed by existing solutions. And in this one, I would like maybe to say that, of course, it depends. It depends where you are in Europe. Something can be very innovative or less innovative, but you will have to explain that in the application form. Also, we would like to avoid very niche challenges with low scalability potential, just something that is only applicable to 1 or 2 cities in Europe. That's not scalable. It needs to be something that can be transferred and quickly deployed in other urban settings. Also, proposals that are focused primarily on research with no realistic plan of commercialization should be avoided. In fact, you will see in the application form that you will have to present your commercial strategy, your business model, your go-to-market. So these need to be properly thought through before putting a proposal. And in the same time, if your proposal only will reach prototyping and testing phase without having this extra step of preparing for market, also won't be suited for this kind of call. So this is in terms of the type of projects we are looking for. And then if we look at the topic scope, you will, as Adriana was mentioning, we have 5 domains, the ones that you can see here on the slide. And your proposal can address one or several of these domains or high impact markets. So for example, in logistics, it's about making it more resilient, competitive, sustainable, and avoiding negative impacts on urban logistics. You will see in the call document, we highlight, for example, new concepts on logistic hubs for cities, or digital solutions that enable the collaboration between multiple logistics providers with cities, with end users are encouraged. In public transport, is all about making public transport more attractive and competitive, and therefore improving, making the network more sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and accessible. Transport, in the public transport topic, you will see we also highlight demand responsive transport as part of the scope, and also shared vehicles that can complement public transport in areas where public transport is not available. So these are also part of the scope of this topic. Then mobility data management. This is, of course, very transversal and can touch onto other domains, but it's basically about using demand-driven solutions that help to make more informed decisions that improve the urban mobility systems. And this can be related maybe to more urban planning, to participatory planning, etc. What is very important is that while remaining competitive and gaining that competitive edge, you need to adhere to certain principles of data management, like data privacy, interoperability, replicability, and scalability. One thing we will look at is that how your solution can then integrate, maybe in the case of a project that is addressed to cities or to public transport operators, how your solution can integrate with other systems they have in place. Then on electrification of transport and alternative fuels, this is about solutions that will improve the value chain of electrification, and it can go from battery charging vehicles, but also with end of life of the batteries, for example. We are also looking at alternative fuels, and for this one, we are looking for concrete use cases, for example, hydrogen, but also other alternative fuels that can complement electrification and that offer a solution that can be easily scaled and replicated. And finally, on the health and mobility, it's all about having more healthier lifestyles in our cities. So we are looking at actions and new solutions that contribute to move to active mobility, walking and cycling. These solutions need to be, again, very much market focused and market oriented, because in the end, you will have to have a product or service to commercialize. And they, for example, for cycling, we are looking for solutions that support the European cycling industry and support the European Cycling Declaration. This topic on health and mobility is very important. Also look at new solutions that aim to either reduce, mitigate, or monitor pollution, both air pollution and noise pollution. And it can be about taking more informed decisions based on this data or achieving real reductions on pollution levels. As mentioned by Adriana earlier, these are like the 5 domains that we have for this call. But in the future, we might have more specific topics related to these 5 domains that tackle some key market opportunities or some urgent market failures. And for the first cut-off date, we are not planning to have any, but for next year, we might have some of other more specific topics addressed by this call. So this is all the information about the description of this in the call manual, but I thought it would be good to give you this overview. And very important on the topic is that we are going to look also at what is our existing portfolio. And for that, you have on our website information about all the projects we have funded until now, and any proposals that are putting forward products or services that we have already funded and that don't bring any substantial new innovation or added value will be considered out of scope. So we really encourage you to look at our website at what we have funded so far to get a bit of a better overview of the things we have already covered through previous calls. And with that, I wanted to now move on and talk about project frameworks. This is some new aspect we introduced in this call. So we, as we were saying at the beginning, we want more ambitious projects that deliver higher impact. And to do that, we are proposing three types of project frameworks. The first one is the solution package. Here, what we are looking is for projects that may want to test different solutions. This can be either complementary or competing, but that address a shared urban mobility challenge. I will put an example in a minute. The second project framework is value chain. So here we are looking at projects that want to develop and test innovations that address different key aspects or criticalities or inefficiencies across the value chain. So it can be, for example, electrification or some other. And finally, the single solution, this is more the type of projects we've been funding until now, where it's about developing and testing one single solution, product or service. But in here, you will have to really explain and justify why you need the amount of time and budget for developing and validating this solution. It can be that as part of the solution of the project, you need a longer period of time of testing for any reason, or you need certain requirements to adapt regulation in the cities, permits, things to do with homologation, etc. So that's still an option to just focus on one solution, and you will have to explain exactly what entails the testing and developing of that solution. So I'm going to give you an example of each of them, of projects we have. So for the solution package, I wanted to give as example one project we currently have in implementation, which is the SAQM trial. This is a project that aims to monitor particulate matter in underground systems in metros. And the scope of the project is to develop low-cost, lightweight, low-power air quality sensors that are designed for this kind of subsurface environments. This sensor will enable real-time monitoring of particulate matters and provide this information to the public transport operators. This is a project that is led by Transport for London, so they are the project leader, but they have three different providers of sensors. And this is the solution package that they're putting forward, that they will test in two test sites in London and in Paris. And this project also has a technology partner, which is the university, who is advising the whole consortium on the project implementation. This is an example. Of course, the project setup can be different, but I hope with that you have a clear vision of what we mean by solution package, where you test several solutions, in this case, three different types of sensors. The second example is on value chain. So here we don't have in our current portfolio a project that focuses on a value chain, but I can relate to three different projects that each of them touch on different points of a value chain. In this case, is on the topic of electrification and alternative fuel, and here is on hydrogen. So we have three projects. As you can see, Hegel is about optimizing the production, storage, and transportation and distribution of hydrogen, and it's done through a platform that monitors all this process. So it touches in the first three parts of the value chain of hydrogen. Then we have also a project that looks at the distribution is the Activa H2, which is developing a compact modular hydrogen refueling station. And then we have another project that is Hero that looks at the retrofitting of existing diesel minibus vehicles. So as you can see, it touches in three different parts of the value chain of hydrogen. It looks at the verticals, but they also involve key aspects that are more key actors, that are a bit more transversal, from industry manufacturers of vehicles to public transport, public investments, etc. So while these are three separate projects, in the new call, you could think of a project that addresses these three, let's say, points of the value chain. This is the example of hydrogen, but it could be also related to logistics, for example, or for example, on cycling, you could do a project that looks at the vehicle, bike or e-bike or cargo bike, but also at the parts on operation, maintenance, etc. And finally, the last project framework is the single solution. So here I have the example of another project that we have in implementation phase. It's ARISE. It's a project that wants to increase safety of tram operations. And to do that, they are developing an advanced driver assistance system for trams, leveraged by AI, sensors, and decision support systems. This solution aims to reduce tram accidents and improve efficiency of tram operations. So here, if you see the project setup, we have one partner, which is the project leader, but also a technology expert, which is the university, UCL, University College London. We have one single solution provider, in this case, the company Otis, and several test sites and end users, in this case, tram operators across 4 different cities. And we have another tech partner that is, in this case, Carnet, that is supporting the pilot implementation. So again, this is more of a traditional project setup, but with greater ambition and greater impact that aligns with the new aims of the call. This is what I had to do in terms of strategic focus. And now I will focus a bit more on certain aspects of the call requirements. So the first one, and this is all explained in the call manual, is who can apply to this call. This call, we try to simplify as much as possible, and we establish 2 minimum requirements. The first one is that it needs 2 independent legal entities to be part of the consortium, so at least 2, and they need to be established in 2 different European member states or third parties associated with Horizon Europe. So that will be the minimum criteria for you to apply. And please take into account there are special cases like Switzerland and eligibility criteria for Hungarian universities that are explained in the call document. Then, in terms of the consortium composition, out of these 2 independent legal entities, at least one needs to be a commercial partner who will be responsible for commercializing the solution that will be developed and tested, and who will also be responsible for contributing to the EIT Urban Mobility financial sustainability. For those who don't know about this, I will explain it in a few slides, but at least one of these 2 partners need to be this commercial partner. Then you can have other organizations that, and here we're looking for key organizations that are essential for the success of the project, but also essential for the future commercialization. We're not looking for projects that are very big in terms of number of partners, but rather smaller sizes, but very well aligned and very fit for purpose project consortium. So similar to the ones I was referring before, where you have a project leader, you have the commercial partners or solution providers, you have technology experts who can support in the developing and testing, and very important, you also have end users. So depending on the type of challenge you're addressing, you might need to have in your consortium public authorities, you might have to have in your consortium public transport operators, or maybe private operators of logistics or charging providers. It really depends on who is the real end user of your solutions. Or if you go for value chain, you might need different types of end users. Very important as part of this section of who can apply is that if an application is selected for funded, all applicants will be required to become member of our community and pay the corresponding membership fee. This is explained in the call manual, and also later on my colleague Anders will provide more details of what it means to be part of the EIT Urban Mobility community. In terms of project duration, Adriana already mentioned it, that it's up to 24 months. And very important, this duration needs to be aligned with the project scope, complexity, and planned activities. So if your innovation requires less time, for example, 1 year, you should then plan your project for 1 year or 1.5 years. So we don't want just projects that by default go up to 24 months. These might be penalized by the evaluators. What is very important is that all projects, including any extension, must end by 31st of December 2028. So here you have the table with the different cutoff dates. And as you can see, for the first 3 cutoff dates, the maximum duration will be up to 24 months. But then for the 4th and for the 5th cutoff dates, we can only support shorter projects. So for the 4th cutoff date is 18 months, and for the 5th cutoff date is 12 months, because as I said, at the latest, they need to finish in December 2020. Then, in terms of financial aspects, this call, the indicative funding allocated for this call is 60 million. That's for all the 5 cutoff dates, and it includes 13 million for the EIT Regional Innovation Scheme. You can see on the right the indicative distribution of funding. So for the first cutoff date, it's about 9 million euro. Then we're expecting more funding allocation for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th cutoff date. And for the 5th cutoff date, since we'll be projects just of 1 year, we are expecting less projects and then less funding. What is important is that this is indicative, and budget allocations per cutoff date will be adjusted based on the quality and number of proposals received. With that, what I mean is that for the first cutoff date, depending on the quality and number of proposals received, we might go below these 9 million euros or well above. In terms of the funding per project, the maximum that each project can receive is 2 million euros. And similar to the project duration, the budget needs to be well aligned with the project scope and complexity and the solutions put forward, and especially with the ambition. And with that, I mean that projects with disproportionate budgets relative to the scope or that lack value for money will be penalized. You can see that there is the evaluation criteria under implementation. There is this will be one of the aspects that evaluators will look at. In terms of co-funding, all proposals must have a co-funding rate of 35%. This is similar to the call we had, for example, last year. And what that means is that EIT Urban Mobility will reimburse up to 65% of the total eligible project costs, and then the rest needs to be brought by the consortium. In here, each consortium partner may have different co-funding rates, or even we may have 1 or 2 partners with no co-funding, 100% funded, but then the others will have to compensate as long as they reach the minimum 35%. And since this is a call funded by Horizon Europe, all expenditures must comply with Horizon Europe rules. And for that, you have a document, one of the annexes of the call, that explain the rules for project expenditure. The other aspect very important for you to know is this contribution to EIT Urban Mobility financial sustainability. This is a core aspect of the EIT grant model. So any project that we fund through innovation needs to generate a return for EIT Urban Mobility. This requirement is applicable to partners that will commercialize the solutions only. So any other partners that participate in the consortium are not responsible for this part, unless at consortium level you reach a different agreement. This is always possible, but at least for us, the main responsible partner will be the one commercializing the solution afterwards. Very important that for all the commercial partners, you will see, I will explain later when I talk about the application process, we will undergo certain financial checks on all identified commercial partners to assess any risks of the project, financial risks. And in terms of contributions, we put forward 3 options. And the idea is that these are aligned to the best interests of the commercial partners. So for partners that look to grow their sales pipeline, we offer the sales pathway, where partners will get support to grow their sales pipeline in exchange for a fee that will be determined by a commercial contract. The second option is the investment pathway, and this is for companies, mainly startups, that look to have EIT Urban Mobility as investor. So here the agreement would be an equity agreement. And finally, the third option is the creation of a new company or spin-out that would be created as a result of the project. And here again, the idea is that EIT Urban Mobility invests into the new company. Since we know that this is very different to any other projects or any other programs of funding, we are organizing a especially dedicated to this part where we are going to give more detail tomorrow at 2 p.m. Then one more aspect that I would like to highlight is in relation to KPIs, deliverables, and monitoring. So the minimum KPIs that you will have to include in any proposal that you submit to this call is the EIT HE 2.4, which is a marketed innovation. So at least you must have one solution that you will bring to the market by the end of the project, or you will create one startup who will then commercialize that solution. So the minimum is either marketed innovation or startup created with a value of 1. This is the minimum, but of course, if you're testing several solutions, you might want to increase the target 1 for each of the solutions that you're going to create. Then you will see in the core manual that we ask for certain mandatory deliverables, such as the technical sheets, the product plans, impact assessment methodology. So you will have to include all of these in your work plan. And on top of that, you may want to include a few more deliverables, but they need to be very relevant to the project. And finally, on project monitoring, basically, we monitor projects in accordance to the contract that you will sign, which is the financial support agreement, our project implementation handbook, and the rules and procedures of Horizon Europe. On monitoring, I wanted to highlight that this is more than funding. We provide active support through the project journey. And what we mean here is that if you get a project funded by us, you will get first a very dedicated project officer who will be your trusted advisor and support you in the day-to-day. You might get access to expert support on user engagement and citizen engagement. You also will have the possibility to have additional cities learning about your project, observing your project, and also access to our master school students and alumni network in case you need talent. And of course, about membership, visibility, networking, and collaboration. Then 2 more aspects that are specific to this call is the intellectual property. So it's very important that the solutions that you propose have a sound IP strategy that will ensure future commercialization. What we mean here is that your solution cannot be copied by third parties, it's protected. And also that you can prove that your solution does not infringe on existing third IP. What is important here is that by the start of the project, you don't have to have everything protected, but you need to have a strategy on what things need to be protected and when. So any planned measures to protect innovations, to explore core IP rights should be part of your work plan, and this will be positively evaluated by the experts. And also, we recommend, although it's not mandatory, is that you submit a freedom to operate. A freedom to operate is a study produced by third parties that look at your solution and confirm that it's not infringing any existing patents from other third parties. Given the importance of intellectual property for our projects, the fact that they are so close to market makes this an essential prerequisite. We are organizing a webinar on Thursday looking especially at this aspect. And finally, another aspect that is very important to us is gender and diversity. Why? Because diversity drives better innovations. This is aligned with our policies, And any proposal that is submitted to this call needs to consider two main aspects. First, it needs to demonstrate how gender and diversity is integrated in the design and development of the project outputs. That means the solutions you put forward, the pilot settings, any actions you do for user engagement, etc. But also you need to, we are promoting here that you are including a diverse team of that is gender balance, that includes minorities, not just in general, but also at decision-making level. In this aspect, so if there's proposals that have very generic descriptions about inclusion of gender and diversity, this will be looked at by external evaluators and penalized in the evaluation. And if you would like to know more about this, you have an article here, The Gender Mainstreaming for Inclusive Mobility, that gives more detail about the importance of gender and diversity in the mobility. So I'm hoping we're doing well with time. If not, please let me know, Adriana or Emma. But what I would like to do next is a bit more operational on the proposal submission, evaluation, and selection. We will have one specific webinar on this on Thursday, more on the practical steps in the application form, but still it's important to give an overview. So for proposal submission, you will see in the call manual, there are three main steps. The first two are applicable to all applicants, and the third is only for project leaders. So the first step is about obtaining your PIC number. This is a participant identification code for the European Commission, and it can be you can get this number in the EU Funding and Tenders portal. Once you have this number, you then need to register into our submission platform, NetSuite, where you will have to put a lot of information about your entity, information on legal contacts, financial contacts, etc. And you will have to include as well there the PIC number that you have obtained. If you already registered here, you don't need to do anything. But if you don't, you need to go for step 1 and step 2. And only then the project leader, on behalf of the whole consortium, will be able to start an application form and submit it before the deadline. For that, you will have to complete an online form in NetSuite and also upload the mandatory documents that I will explain in a few minutes. What is very important is that our recommendation is that you start this as soon as possible, especially if you need to get your PIC number, register in the NetSuite platform, because this can take up to 2 working days for registrations to be accepted. So any last minute registrations on the day of the deadline might not be processed on time. Okay, this will be explained a bit more in the webinar on Thursday, but I think it's important to highlight it because we had in the past problems. So in terms of the application form and supporting documents, there are like 3 key aspects for you to consider. The first one is, as I said, the application form. This is online through NetSuite, and you will see there are several tabs that you need to include the main information about your proposal, partner information, project scope, work plan, and budget. Then in the application form, there will be another tab where you need to include the mandatory documents. And here you will see you need to include a pitch deck. For this pitch deck, you have a template available in the core website. And then you will also have to submit all the financial data from organizations identified as commercial partners. What do we mean here? It means your last audited accounts that enabled us to do a bit of a financial check of your situation, okay? If you have more than one commercial partner, you need to put that in one single document and upload it into the platform. These are the mandatory documents. And then we have other non-mandatory documents that you may want to submit together with your application forms, which is letters of support, if applicable, freedom to operate studies. As I said before, as part of the IP, this is recommended and will help in the evaluation. And we also ask for a link to the project video. This is to give the evaluators a bit more information on the solutions, and should also help them assess what is the current maturity level of your solution. Is it something that is already a prototype stage that you have tested, etc.? But it's recommended. An important note here is that if any application is missing any of the mandatory documents or submitting the wrong documents, or part of your application is empty, they will be rejected. Okay. And also, we put a limit of 3 submissions for the same proposal. So you will be able to submit if, for example, you fail a submission in the first cutoff date, you will be able to submit up to 3 times the same proposal. After that, the proposal will not be eligible. Then, in terms of evaluation and selection, there are 3 steps. The first one is the admissibility and eligibility check. This is a process, it's an assessment made by EIT Urban Mobility and looks at, as I said, the completeness of the application form and the mandatory documents, applicant eligibility, registration, consortium composition, co-funding rate. Then all the proposals that pass this admissibility and eligibility check will go into evaluation. The assessment will be performed by 3 external evaluators and 1 internal evaluator, and looks at strategic fit and EU dimension, excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of implementation. And then those proposals, the best proposals coming out of this evaluation, will go into the second stage, which is the hearing and portfolio selection. As mentioned early on by Adriana, here we will have an online hearing with the EIT Urban Mobility Selection Committee, and we will look at the quality and credibility of the hearing, and also how the proposal contributes to our financial sustainability. Let me give you a bit more details on some of these steps. The first is the admissibility and eligibility check. It's a yes-no assessment. So as I said, it's about the proposal being complete, applicants being eligible, so from the right EU or Horizon Europe associated countries, that the applicant has registered correctly, the consortium is eligible, and the co-funding rate. Our recommendations here, as I said before, is that you register all applicants well in advance, especially if any entity does not have a PIC number, and that you start your online application well in advance. Later today, you will have available on our web an offline version of the application form that you can use. So it's a Word version that you can use to work offline, but also later today, at the latest tomorrow, the application form will also be available online for you to start testing. Very important as well to double check that you have correctly uploaded the mandatory documents, because as I said, if you're missing one of them, the proposal will not be accepted. We have a rectification period to, let's say, to correct some of the aspects of the proposal, but very important, this will only be applicable to issues related to and to errors related to partner registration. So if, for example, your consortium is not eligible because you only have 1 partner, for example, then this won't be able to be corrected. Then, as I said, the proposals that pass to the eligibility and accessibility check will go into stage 1, evaluation, and they will be evaluated according to these 4 criteria. The maximum score is 75 points, and very important that for a proposal to go to the next stage, they need a minimum qualifying score in each of the 4 criteria. So this is 9 points out of 15 for strategic fit and EU dimension, 12 out of 20 for excellence, 12 out of 20 for impact, and 12 out of 20 for implementation. So only proposals that obtain this minimum score for each of these criteria will qualify to the next stage. What I mean here, and I think it works better if I give an example, is that, as you can see, example 1, it has all the minimum qualifying scores on 9, 12, 12, 12, a total of 45 points, and this proposal will qualify to the next step. However, example 2, with the same amount of points, 45, but doesn't reach the minimum qualifying score for one of the criteria, in this case, strategic fit and EU dimension, but then has higher scores in, for example, here in impact, still this one would not qualify because it doesn't have the minimum qualifying score for, in this case, strategic fit. Then for the evaluation, some recommendations from our side is to read very carefully the evaluation criteria available in the core document, because this is what you will be evaluated against, and also to follow the guidance questions available in the application form. These questions will give you the key points that you need to address in each of the sections of the application form. But just generally things to consider when I look at the different 4 criteria. On a strategic fit, think that this is where evaluators will assess the proposal as a whole. They will look at how it aligns with our mission, whether it has market criticality, a convincing path to market, and it's when they look if there is any proposal that duplicates solutions previously funded. Then in excellence, it's all about the market criticality and innovative of the solution. Here you will see in the application form, we ask you to present your competitors' landscape, name any competitors that will help in your evaluation. And here also, don't forget about gender and diversity, which is also part of this excellence. In impact is all about the path to market, scalability potential, but also the broader societal and environmental impacts. As I was saying at the beginning, if you can put here some very impact-driven and measurable aspects, will help you a lot in the evaluation. And finally, on implementation is about where evaluators will look at your core team, at the value for money principles, and your work plan and risk registers. So here, for example, typically what we are expecting is to have one work package that looks at project management, another one that looks more at the development of the technologies or the solutions, the pilots, and then go-to-market actions. These are just examples. You might want to have some other tasks or work packages, but this is normally what we get. For the pilots, this is very important because it's a key aspect of our projects to do really impactful and ambitious pilots. So in your task about the pilot, you will have to explain what is the pilot about, how many, test sites you're planning to have, what is the objectives and key results that you're expecting from each pilot, the impact, etc. And I think I have a couple more slides. So all the proposals that qualify on the first stage, on the evaluation, will be invited to the hearing and proposal selection. These are basically, as I said, the top ranked proposals that are above the minimum qualifying score, but also we will put a limit on the number of proposals invited. So it will be double the number of proposals that we can invite per cutoff date. The format of this online hearing is a pitch, a 15-minute speech, followed by 15-minute Q&A session. And for those that will be shortlisted, we will provide further guidance. If your proposal is selected after this hearing, you will be invited to a conditions clearing phase of all the pre-awarded projects. So any conditions will have to be fulfilled before the project can be fully awarded. And it's also the time where commercial partners will have to agree on the terms and conditions of the commercial agreement. And once this is done, the project will be ready to start implementation. And that's all from my side. I give the floor to my colleague, Anders Bergström, from the head of Innovation Hub North, who will explain a little bit more what is to be part of the EIT Urban Mobility community. Thank you. Anders, the floor is yours. I don't know if we are having any problems with Anders. Emma, do we know if there's any issues with Anders?
Sorry, I don't know. He seems connected. So what we can do is skip to the next section and give him a minute in case he's having connection issues.
Okay, let's do that. So I will skip this part. And actually, the floor is yours, Emma, to explain a little bit more about the Mobility Innovators platform.
Thank you, Georgina. Yes, so to give you an overview of the EIT Urban Mobility Innovators platform, which is our community platform. If we can go to the next slide, please, Georgina. Essentially, this, as I mentioned, is our community platform where we have our partners and wider network work together to share news, latest updates on projects that are happening, events. It's basically a place where we can come together and collaborate and share information. Next slide, please. At a platform level, there are several different functionalities that I'd just like to quickly cover. So an area of the homepage where you can get a summary of the latest news, events, and posts that have been shared. The live feed, which is where you can share yourself insights into projects, put any questions. Latest news, you can check out the current articles and information that is happening within the EIT Urban Mobility community. Events, you can find events that have been published by EIT Urban Mobility or indeed promote any upcoming event that could be relevant for the community yourself. Forums, so this is just a recently launched functionality. We have a autonomous vehicle forum. So this is for group discussions. So I recommend you join that. The current one is on autonomous vehicles, as I mentioned. Innovators, this is where you can find a list and map of users and partner organizations that are within the platform. You can reach out to people and start conversations through the platform. Groups, this is where we have, for example, this strategic innovation open call group. So it's a specific group on this call. And the next slide, please. So as you've registered to the platform, you will have started to create your profile. We strongly recommend that you add to your experience section on your profile, you connect it with your organization. This helps to facilitate networking within the platform. Next slide, please. So within the group, you will have seen on the About page a bit of information about how to navigate the group and also a link to the official call publication, which is on the EIT Urban Mobility website. The webinar section where you will have found today's webinars and where you'll be also able to find the recordings of the webinars once they've been held. Consortium networking, so we have set up 5 forums, one for each of the main topics that will be covered within the call, so urban logistics, public transport, etc. This is a place where you can share ideas and needs and expertise. And members, this is where you can search and connect with potential collaborators, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail on the next slide. So as I mentioned, consortium networking, we have one for each of the 5 topic areas. This is where you can, as I said briefly, search for different types of partners by sharing a little bit better information about your project, what you're looking for. This is also where you can share your specific skills, experience, or knowledge, and people can reach out to you. Also a place where you can outline any proposed project ideas. And next slide, please. And a way to reach out to different people within the call group. You can access the members tab, where you can search for people within the group based on their name or location, the type of organization, their areas of expertise, and then send them a message directly. or you can access via the messaging tool, send messages to specific people or indeed groups of people to have group conversations. And that wraps up. I think we have Anders now, so we can go back. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me at least. There were some issues with the activity, but you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear
brilliant.
you.
Excellent. Okay, so good. Thanks a lot. Hey, my name is Anders Bengtsson, and I'm the head of the Innovation Hub North, covering the Baltics and the Nordics. And so, I mean, with this strategic call being what I see as a backbone for our innovation ambitions. Now, there are obviously many great opportunities for 20 up to 28, but something really good is already happening, I'd say. Hopefully, it is because the EIT Urban Mobility calls have been developed and improved over time. Hopefully, it is because we have become better in listening to you, but also become better in communicating the benefits and the values that comes with the active community of EIT Urban Mobility, because we've seen an increase of involvement in our calls. In the Innovation Hub North region, the Baltics, the Nordics, as I said, from 24 to 25, we have had a doubling of the number of partners and other stakeholders being engaged in EIT Urban Mobility funded innovation projects. And it's a very positive uptake, which position our calls well in the local innovation systems too. So, yeah. So, yes, with the calls, there are grants to finance innovation and secure impact solutions, but there are also values beyond that. As mentioned partially, if an application is selected for funding, then all applicants will be required to become a member of our community, and there is a corresponding membership fee to that. If you join the consortium as a commercial partner and sign a commercial agreement with EIT Urban Mobility, the community membership will be included, giving you access to exclusive partner benefits. And by partnering with EIT Urban Mobility, you will definitely tap in directly to a dynamic network of having the opportunity to collaborate with top innovators, enhance your visibility, access crucial funding opportunities, and not least test your ideas in real-world environments. Creating, how should I say, a bridge between theory and reality. But as a creative platform, we have the active community of EIT Urban Mobility, partners and strategic holders. But learning comes from doing and knowing. And this is also how our innovation call and projects serve as, let's say, platforms to better get to know each other and share knowledge within the ecosystem. So based on increased knowledge, we understand better what is of both mutual value and need. And we can also build further on more innovations or other co-creative collaborations. So as said, being part of EIT Urban Mobility Innovation Projects comes with a position of being a partner. And this position, it levels up for you to further collaborations within the EIT Urban Mobility and also not least throughout Europe. Not least that is in the, how should I say, let's say matchmaking and the introduction of other qualified stakeholders, pushing change towards sustainable mobility and what we call more livable urban areas. So as an EIT Urban Mobility partner, you will also get the benefit and the support of your regional innovation hub, like the Innovation Hub North. There are 5 hubs throughout Europe, and we provide local and regional opportunities, of course, and not least events and workshops and similar. But of course, and not least, a brilliant connection and outreach to the whole of the EU market with events such as Tomorrow Mobility and our community days. So let's say that EIT Urban Mobility, including regional efforts, will be at your service. So please get in contact with the hubs as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anders, for your explanation. I'm really happy you were able to explain what are the benefits of being part of EIT Urban Mobility. And with that, we are done with all the slides that we have for you today. Right, is our email address for this call, innovationcall@eiturbanmobility.eu.